Hi guys, my name is Vivek and this is the third tutorial on materialized view. Before we go ahead and understand what we are going to learn in today's tutorial, I have a quick request. If you have not subscribed to my channel already, please go ahead and do it now. In our previous tutorial, we learned that materialized view actually physically stores the output of a query, and if we don't refresh the materialized view on a regular basis, it may actually contain stale data, giving us false impressions. So it's vital that we update the materialized view on a regular basis, and then we discussed what are the different strategies using which we can refresh them. We talked about complete refresh or full refresh, where we truncate and load the materialized view. We discussed how this approach can be cost intensive if our query is trying to aggregate a large number of data, or if it's doing a big join on two tables. So in that case, we have our alternate approach that's called fast refresh or incremental refresh. In that case, only those data that have changed since the last refresh will be considered while updating the materialized view. There is a prerequisite for that. You have to create a materialized view log on all the source tables that are being used in order to create the materialized view. And then we talked about force refresh, which actually initially tries to implement the fast refresh if for some reason fast refresh is not available. For example, if the materialized view is not updated correctly or is corrupted, in that case it will go ahead and do the complete refresh. So let's see those refresh strategies in today's tutorial in our SQL developer. And we also had a glimpses of query rewrite and how it can actually improve your query performance. We will see that as well. So in this tutorial, I'm trying to identify the revenue generated by each employee in my organization. I have two tables, transaction and employee. My transaction table has the details of all the transactions that has happened for my organization, and my employee table contains the unique details of all my employees. So here, if you run this query, it will give you the amount of revenue generated by each employee. I'm creating a materialized view on this. And if you see, I've added an additional line here that I want to do a complete refresh on demand. That means Oracle will not perform the refresh if the underlying tables are updated. Only when I go ahead and request the command, then it will refresh the materialized view. Let's see how that will impact the materialized view and whether it will reflect the correct snapshot of data or not. So here I'm trying to query the revenue that is being generated by employee ID 138. It's this number right now, and the same number should be reflected by my materialized view as well. So if you see, both of them are reflecting the same number. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert certain records in my transaction table for this particular employee ID. So I have taken some of the transactions that have happened recently. There is a revenue generated by them, and employee ID 138 has performed those transactions. I'm going to go ahead and insert this in my base table. So if you see, the amount of revenue generated by this employee ID has increased. Earlier it was 6 something and now it's 8. So let's say that earlier it was $6 million and now it's $8 million. But if I go ahead and query my materialized view, will it reflect the correct picture? Will it say that yes, this employee has generated $8 million? That's not the case. It's still reflecting the old picture where it says that the employee has made $6 million. So what exactly is required for this materialized view to reflect the correct picture? Since I have specified a manual refresh strategy on demand, I'll have to go ahead and execute this command. So using this command, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my view so that it starts reflecting the correct picture. So I've refreshed my view. It says that the procedure has been completed. Let's see if it gives the correct picture. It says that this employee has generated over $8 million, and that's the same amount if I see from the query as well. So the data has been refreshed. So when exactly we should opt for on-demand strategies? When I'm certain that I want to refresh my materialized view at a specific time and I want that to be controlled. For example, I know that there are certain tables which are refreshed at a particular time as a part of batch process. So instead of doing a refresh on commit, which can happen multiple times during that duration, I would go ahead and do a manual or on-demand refresh once the load has complete. So guys, this is actually a very common scenario for a data warehouse. During your nightly batch process, you receive a number of files from your source system. You capture that data and you store it in your warehouse in your different tables. Once that data capture has completed successfully, you go ahead and populate your materialized view in the second steps before actually triggering the reports, so that the reports actually go ahead and use the materialized view. So first you load your warehouse, then you populate your materialized view and aggregated cube tables, and then you go ahead and run your reports. In my warehouse, I can come up with a job which can actually refresh all my materialized view pertaining to my requirement once the data load has been completed. And this is actually required before the reports are generated, so that the materialized views actually reflect the correct data. I have deleted the additional rows that I had inserted. Right now we discussed when we were refreshing complete on demand. Let's see if we try to refresh on commit, what exactly will happen. So I'm going to drop my materialized view, and where it says on demand, I'm just going to change it to on commit. This is telling Oracle that you need to refresh this view as soon as there is a change in the underlying query and the changes are committed to the database. So let's see how that's going to function. So the view has been created. That's the revenue generated by the underlying query. The same is reflected by the materialized view as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert those 28 rows again, which are going to increase the revenue of employee ID 38. Let's confirm that. So the revenue has been increased in the same session. So if I run this particular query in the same session, I will see that the revenue has increased. My materialized view will not reflect that picture right now, but as soon as I issue a commit statement and the data is being permanently stored on my database, my materialized view will also start showing the correct picture. You can use complete refresh on commit when your underlying query is not going to take too much time, or your materialized view size is not too huge, and it is of vital importance that you update your materialized view as soon as the underlying data is changed. Let's talk a little bit about query rewrite right now. If I go ahead and try to issue this query in one of my reports, Oracle is not going to rewrite that query and use my materialized view, which is one of the main objective of materialized view. That's not going to happen. In order to activate that option, I will have to recreate my materialized view and use this particular statement, enable query rewrite. So if I drop my materialized view and try to create it again, including this particular command, when I go ahead and run this particular query in my report, instead of doing a join on transaction and employee table and aggregating the data, Oracle already knows that this particular data is stored in this materialized view, so it will go ahead and process that data from here. So the code of report stays the same, but because we created this materialized view and it's on the same grain as expected, Oracle is going to use this materialized view, and which will be significantly faster. Now let's talk about our second refresh approach, which is the fast refresh. As I mentioned, in order to refresh your materialized view using fast refresh approach, you need to have a materialized view log created on all your source tables. So in this case, we will have to make 3 changes. So I have added these 2 statements where I am creating materialized view logs on transaction and employees new table. I can go ahead and add a with statement and use row ID, or here I can use the primary key as well when I'm creating the materialized view log, and while storage, this particular primary key will be a part of the materialized view logs. The third change that I need to make here is that instead of doing a refresh complete on commit, I can go ahead and do a refresh fast on commit. In this case, when I opt for fast refresh, it's only going to consider those changes that have happened since the last refresh, and that's why it's called an incremental approach. So our materialized view will capture the changes that have happened on the base tables. Based on that, it will identify what exactly data has changed since the last refresh, it will consider that change data and update your materialized view. The third option is force. So in this case, first it will go ahead and try to implement the fast refresh. If for some reason one of these materialized view logs is not up to date or corrupted, in that case it's going to go ahead and do a fast refresh. Both of these options, fast and force, can be set up on demand as well. And guys, believe me, materialized views are actually very useful when distributing data to remote database. So if we take the same example of our warehouse where we are loading our warehouse tables using a batch process, once that data load has been completed, I'm going to populate my materialized view either with my complete refresh approach or my incremental approach. So if I have opted for an incremental refresh approach on demand, what it is going to do is it's going to consider those materialized view logs, it's going to see what exactly has changed, and then it's going to populate my materialized view. I can keep this on demand, I can keep this on commit as well. And if we are trying to do force refresh, first it will try to go ahead and implement the fast refresh. If that is not successful for some reason, it will go ahead and do the complete refresh. And guys, trust me on this, materialized views are used extensively for distributing data on remote database. So if you have huge warehouse tables and there are a lot of joins happening, what you can do is once your data load is completed, you generate your materialized view and distribute the data in different remote databases using these materialized views. Guys, there is one important thing to note, that materialized view rewrite, query rewrite option is not available in Oracle XE edition. The same goes for advanced replication as well. You cannot have incremental refresh or fast refresh in XE edition. It's only available in the enterprise edition. So if you have configured Oracle XE on your laptop and if you try to create materialized view with fast refresh options or with query rewrite options, there is a good chance that you will face certain errors saying that these options are not configured for your database. Let's do a quick recap of what we discussed in today's tutorial. First, we briefly discussed what we learned in the first two tutorials. Then we talked about the different refresh strategies that we have for materialized views. We talked about refresh complete on demand, refresh complete on commit, and we explained in what scenario we should opt for these strategies. Then we talked about incremental refresh, then we talked about query rewrite and how we can use incremental refresh on demand or on commit as well, that kind of stuff. So hopefully by now you have a good idea how materialized view works, what is query rewrite, what is on demand, what is on commit refresh, what is the difference between complete full or fast refresh, what is force refresh. So these things actually forms the basics of materialized view. And the key difference between materialized view and a view is that materialized view actually physically stores the data, which is not the case with a basic view. I will go ahead and explain further few more things regarding materialized views. We still have not discussed DML operations on materialized views. We will go ahead and learn them later. We will understand few more differences between views and materialized view in our next tutorial. Thanks a lot guys for watching this particular tutorial. Hopefully it was informative and I will see you in the next one. Before I close today's tutorial, I have a quick request. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do it now. Thanks a lot guys.